Hey, good evening, everybody. We are now going to take a look at Lobositz. I finished the setup, and we are going to start doing our first turn. It's going to be a pretty casual go through the list step by step so that we don't miss anything. I don't know if this will be instructional or not. I have never played the game. I've read through the rules one time all the way through. And then that was a couple months ago. And then I've read the rules all the way up through. I lost my spot because I took the stuff out, but I'm basically, I think, on leaders. So I'm on morale states, I think it is. So like somewhere in the 30s. So almost done reading it again all the way through. As I said in my very first video, I don't know a ton about this period. I've gamed it a little bit with miniatures. I've gamed it very little. In fact, I don't even know if I've done any 7 Years' War with Hex Encounter up until this. What was my train of thought on that? Oh, so reading through the book, the rules, and comment below. I'm like reading through this, and it just seems like cavalry is the way to go, right? So I'm going to show you some things I did with my setup with the Austrians, because remember they have that off-map movement, which is not part of the vassal module. They don't have an off-map chart, which is fine. I got mine here in the Lobositz rule book, so I have mine. But as I'm reading the rules and I'm reading, it just seems like cavalry will just run stuff down. So unless I'm not understanding and they're going to get just hammered by muskets, if they try charging units that are fully in line and ready to blaze away, we're going to find out, I guess. This is not going to be an example of how Frederick the Great would have ran his army. But I do want it to hopefully be an example of how to play the game step by step. This is just my observation. It seems there's a lot of critiquing or criticisms of this system as people like it, but they seem to say it's kind of clunky. It seems like a lot. I won't lie to you there. As I read the rules, there's a lot there, but I like that. I play the Goss series by Decision Games, like Wachtam Rhine, Hurtgen Forest, stuff like that. And I like the crunchy stuff. I like the detail. I'm not interested in just moving around a few counters like chess pieces and getting the results for the Battle of Lobostiz done in 3 hours. That's not really me. Now, if you're playing this and you play this series a lot, maybe you can do that. Certainly not going to happen playing solitaire. And if anyone's got any thoughts while I'm posting these, if you're good with the rules, if you see mistakes, please bring them up. We'll correct them as we go. Anyway, so I'm just going to zoom in here a little more. One of the things I wasn't 100% sure is these grenadiers here. So, you can combine 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 8 and 9, stuff like that. To me, it seems beneficial to have them spread out because you can only have, if these combine and say they're a 6, when you go to the certain chart, I think the most you can have fire out of a hex in most cases is 4 strength points. And I don't want to get too sidetracked, but yeah, so right here, fire strength 4, right? So if you have a 5, if we had those grenadiers combined for 6. And they're firing, if it's I think the Austrians are 4 ranks, they could fire 4. And the Prussians are 3 ranks, so they could split into 3 and 3. So in that case, this is showing me something I'm learning just by looking at this chart that I haven't learned yet because I haven't played, is the Austrians won't have as much firepower unless you have a unit of 7 or 8 where they can start spreading out. Then they can start doing a little better, but even then they're limited to 2 and 3, right? So they'll have this many strength points in there, but they don't get to fire with a lot of them, or the Prussians seem to get to maximize theirs. But anyway, so the whole point I was getting at is you can only fire with 4 strength points out of a hex at most. All right? So I'm thinking you want to kind of be spread out. Movement-wise, like these dudes up here, so I got these guys, they're in a line is fleshed out, so the right side of the line, which would be where I put the unit, has the odd number, so this would be 4 and this would be 3 strength points. I'm thinking that's a good plan going through here, but maybe that's going to be a complete disaster. I don't know. That's the beauty of trying to figure this out. But like I said, the cavalry, they just seem like, obviously you don't want to go running in. I did some looking at the charts a little bit, and if you got 32 strength points and a clear hex running in there and they get blasted at by fire, there's a lot of modifiers, so a lot of dudes are going to go down just because they're so compacted together. But that's my understanding. Is cavalry are just going to run people over. They seem to have a lot of rules for and morale is a huge deal, which I do understand that with the period. It's more about not running away than it is annihilating. It's not like the Civil War where the musketry fire rifled muskets would just mow down troops left and right. These are smoothbore muskets. Got to get up, pretty close to fire for any kind of accuracy. And but I'm kind of excited. That's one of the reasons I wanted to play 7 Years' War, or maybe sometime Napoleonics, is because you have the combined arms. I love the Civil War. That's what I grew up loving as a kid. But you don't really get the combined arms. It's usually an infantry slogfest with some artillery. Cavalry is kind of a secondary thing. Quick notes just before we start. We are not using the full map. I don't know what this extended map is for. I'm guessing that came out in an add-on or something, or some kind of magazine adjustment. We are going to play with the original map, which goes down here to the Lobositz city. So these little zigzags here. Okay. So if you just draw like a straight line down here, this is the map we're playing basically. So we're going to play with that. I got everything set up from before. I didn't make any changes, although I did add one leader that I forgot. I had a wing leader here. So this dude right here. And I'm trying to learn some shortcuts. That's Lacey. Oberst Lacey. So he's kind of in charge of these dudes here and the dudes in the city here, I think. I'm going to have to learn that command structure. There's no color codes or anything on here to help us lay people. But that's fine. That doesn't bother me at all. I've seen some people get a little annoyed with that maybe. And maybe I will. Maybe they're absolutely right, but I'm going to just take my time. So one thing I want to show you before we get started is there is no off-map thing, so I just kind of did my own thing here. These guys are all off-map, and they're labeled, right? So these guys are an off-map I, J, K, L, M, and N, okay? And for those that maybe don't have it, I'll try to hold this up real quick. Let me zoom over here and take a look at this and zip that up. And you have this off-map diagram, right? It's really funny because you got to do everything opposite, right? So they're in the I, J, K, L, M, N, and then the rows G and then A through F. When you move up into those, your next move, it gives you a bunch of hex numbers there. That's where you get to come in off the screen, right? Let's fix this real quick so you don't have to be looking at me the whole time, because you're not here to look at me. I mostly put that up there because my wife says she hates when I watch videos and all you hear is this voice. You don't see anybody ever. So that I do that, and I guess I kind of like it, a little more personal. So I put these guys here, and when I move them, I'm just going to change the hex letter that they're on. What I've kind of did, just to give you this as the Austrian, is I'm thinking that this stack of cavalry is going to basically shift this way on the off-map thing and come in down by Lobositz. And then I haven't decided yet. There's another cav unit I might switch up and try to zip up this way. And these guys, if they come up this way, and I won't tell you the hex number because it doesn't matter much, they end up coming in down over here and they can come in on these bridges and stuff, right? And they can start to fill in here, right, where the sunken road is. And then I'm thinking of, okay, so this is where that far left stack would come in at Sulowitz, the church, basically up this road. And then this little bridge here is a key one because I want to try to get this infantry unit with a bunch of grenadiers attached and a couple of artillery and try to get them to come. And it's going to take them, I think, three turns to do that, right? So I think each turn is an hour. Let's go look at the deal. Yeah, so each turn's an hour. So they wouldn't get on there until, if that's if there's no problems, right? That's if we don't have any events that end the turn early or anything goofy. But they would come in there, and then the other, like I said, the other cavalry unit would come in over here and come up this road and get over here. So my plan is, remember the victory conditions. If I fight with only the stuff I have on here and bring on one more formation, I only have to defend Lobositz. But that's a lot of Prussians coming down the road. And I can't remember if this is Melhata or Welhata. But anyway, this is if I bring on more than 3, so 4 formations. I don't plan on doing that. But if I bring on 2 to 3 formations total, then I have to, as soon as I hit the second formation, I got to defend Sulowitz here. So I thought if I brought 2 formations in around Sulowitz on the soon-to-be right flank of the Prussians and brought another one in here, or I could shift them over here and try to get them to come in here too while I'm bringing the rest of these dudes up. I'm thinking these guys need to come out of this town. That's not a very good position. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So that's the plan. I had to think of some kind of plan, right? Because I got to know how many I want to bring in. I don't want to bring them all in because I don't want to defend the 3rd village as soon as I hit the 4th formation. But anyway, that was probably more conversation than I was planning, but I wanted to let you know that I set that up. And my understanding is that these wing commanders can start with their units off map. It didn't really say, or at least I didn't see it when I was reading. And then these over here you don't use unless I combine the grenadiers, right? So I'm not going to worry about that. And that's just the cat howling in the background, in case you're wondering what that is. I don't know why she's doing that as she gets older. She's kind of weird. T, would you just chill, please? So anyway, sorry about that. It's the cat. She likes to run around at night and howl. Okay, so we're ready to go. Everything's on the board. I purposely did the extra game turn starting at 6 a.m. because I wanted to practice movement because we wouldn't have to worry about firing in the beginning. So I can work on marching, command rolls, stuff like that. And I kind of like, if they give you lots to do in a game, I like to play that. So we're going to go through the sequence of play. I didn't grab my readers. I should have grabbed my readers. But should be able to read this in the light being good enough. So I'm going to take this real slow. If this isn't your cup of tea, I apologize. It's not going to be a quick and dirty demo on how to do this stuff because I'm first time playing this. So I'm just going to go through it. There's going to be some rule reading and stuff like that. So hopefully that works for you. So sequence of play. Army morale check phase. Performed only on the first game turn. The 0-0 turn of every hour, each player determines his current loss total, counting his eliminated strength points, eliminated leaders, and currently routed strength points. This total is compared to the army morale table, and a die is rolled to see if there's any change to his army morale. Well, I think we're pretty safe that isn't going to be an issue right this second. So that gets us to the fun part. Sequence of play B, initiative determination phase. Now what I'm going to do, since I don't have different colored dice, with this little D10 roller up here, is I'm going to roll 2D10, and the first number will be the Prussian number. I'm always going to roll the Prussians first, and then the second number will always be the Austrians to keep it consistent. So if I don't declare that while we're playing, I'll try to remember to declare that a number of times, but if I don't, when we make initiative rolls, that's going to be the order. So both players will roll a 10-sided dice. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's see what the options are. So, whoops, I'm not sure why that... Oh, sorry. I was up here and I was hitting end turn to see what stuff did before we turned it on. All right, so the Prussians got a 9, Austrians got a 4. If either, not both, result is a 0, consult the initiative special results table found in the battle rules and follow its instructions. We don't have to worry about a special result. If neither result is a 0, each player adds his army leader's command rating to his die roll. Let me not get ahead of myself here. I'm going to try to read through all this stuff and then I'll go back. The command ratings can be reduced if the army leader used it to affect his army morale or if he moved this turn. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. If the sum of the unmodified dice result is greater than the end turn number found in the game's turn record track, move the end turn number marker 1 box down, i.e. closer to the end box, along the track for the turn. When the end turn marker reaches the box marked end, the limited activation rules are in effect for the remainder of the game turn. Otherwise, proceed with a normal game turn. Okay, so basically, you got to move the guys you think are important because you might not always get to move everyone as far as attacking or whatever. And we'll worry about looking up limited when that happens. We're not close to that. But when it's limited, my understanding is I think you can only move guys that are in road or march column. And I don't think there's any firing. There might be firing, but maybe you just can't move. So you have to basically be already engaged. So that sounds like I remember that. Remember, I read the rules twice, but there's a lot of rules that are jammed into these pages. I'd say the 3rd edition rules read quite a bit better than the 2nd edition rules I read mostly the first time. So I've actually read them almost 3 times because I read most of the 2nd edition. And then I bought Lobositz because I heard that had the 3rd edition rules and I was set. Okay, so let's go back and look at the army leader. So we have... what did it say you add? You add the player adds his army leader's command rating. So that's a little bit confusing only because no, they have command rating. As I say on the front, it's a command range and movement points. All right, so let's go find because I don't have them memorized yet. So let's find Frederick. And this is one of the things I know people don't love. I got all my leaders are facing upwards. So there's Frederick right there. So let's flip him over. So he is, that's the command rating is the number in black there. So he is a +5. I can't really show you by circling it because, so if I add that, that's a 14. Pretty sure Brown is not going to be better than that. Well, he's not actually that bad. He's a +4. There's another unit there, so I'll flip them both back. Okay, so so that's a total of 9. We knew the Prussians were going to win with the 9, but a total of 9 plus 9 is 18, plus 4 is 22. And if we go over to the turn record track, the end number is a 9. So that means we would move this down 1 as per the instructions before we start moving and activating units. So again, if that happens 10 times, and sometimes my understanding is you get like that 0 in there, that it can skip more than 1 or just whatever. So it can go pretty fast. All right, so the Prussians win. They would win with 14-8, right? Yep. So they're not quite double, which will matter. So the player with the higher modified die result has the initiative and can choose to either activate a friendly command that has not yet been activated this game turn, or require the opposing player to activate one of his unactivated commands. If the winning unmodified initiative die result is at least double the losing unmodified die result, and the winning player's unmodified die roll equals or exceeds his army leader's wing activation number, the initiative player has the option to perform a wing activation. Well, not sure about the wing activation number. We'll see if that's something readily found quickly. I don't know, but it doesn't matter because we weren't double. So hopefully, if we run into that, I will look it up, but we don't have to worry about it. If one player has no commands left to activate, the other player automatically activates one of his unactivated commands. However, it is still essential that both players roll a die because the results can still trigger end-of-turn conditions or special rules. Now, so basically, we don't get to activate a wing, but Frederick gets to activate a command, or he could have the Austrians activate a command, but and I'm sure there's some instances where it's excellent to do that, but I don't want to chance anything right now because I need to get these troops moving. So I'm going to pick to activate. So command activation. The active player selects one of his unactivated commands, which is everybody right now. If a returning or replacement leader is available for the command being activated, that leader is placed on the map at this time. Any returning or replacement non-command leaders can be placed on the map now. Number 1, command control segment. The active player traces a line of command from his army leader to the just activated command leader. Okay, so let's figure out who should we activate. And I'm thinking I want to do something with this cavalry. I want to get this cavalry moving. And I think I'm going to activate this guy here. Now, one of the things I was reading about is you'll notice there's two, there's an A and a B there for that cavalry regiment, I think it's called. And those guys have to be next to each other or stacked, or one of them is out of command. Right? So I got to be careful of that. I don't see that being a big problem, but maybe as I get carried away, I could see having a problem. So just for some historical flavor, hopefully this is to your liking, I think I'm going to activate these guys down here, but I really want to enjoy and learn the history a little bit. So I want to go learn who those guys are. So we have a GES. We got these pink guys here. And so let's go look at who those are. And if you flip stuff, they give you full names, right? So these guys are here. They're under Schwerin. And it's Truchsess, and they're dragoons. Okay, and I don't know enough of those numbers to know if they're good. I think a +4 is pretty decent. I think that's a close combat rating. A 20 is an efficiency rating. I think that's decent. But we will find out as we go along. But I think I'm going to try to activate them. So I should have done a good job as far as everyone being in command. So we know that Frederick the Great is up here, right, sitting in town. And he has a command range of 10. Now, there's different things with roads and friendly units and stuff like that. But I also have wing commanders, and this is where I got to look at the chart a little bit. So my wing commander is this GES. No, that's not my wing commander. My wing commander is Gessler here, and this is going to be under SC. So I have to look for just the Gessler guy, who is a 6. Be this guy here. It's like a gold 6 and 10. So these are all going to be formation commanders, I think. So I see what people say about, did I already mess up and put my, commander guy? Oh no, he's right here. Okay, so I kind of messed up because I want my leaders on top. Okay, so he's right here, okay? So Frederick the Great would be here, and he can go to here, and then this guy can go six movement points to put somebody in command. And I want to look this up to make sure, but okay, so I'm going to read through this, then we're going to look up any rules, because I think roads are only a half movement point, right? So that'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could also go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because each hex is each one. But I want to make sure I'm doing that right. But let's read about command control segment and make sure that there's nothing we skip over as brand new players. It's really easy to go, oh, I just activate this guy and do this. And then you go back and you're looking up something on a turn and go, oh, I've been doing that all wrong. I don't want to do it wrong if people are watching the video, not just like a pride thing, but I want to make sure we're doing it right. There's going to be mistakes. We all make mistakes gaming. We all miss little rules. I'm not worried about incidental stuff, but I want to get the bulk of it down right. So command control segment. The active player traces a line of command from his army leader to the just activated command leader. This line of command can be augmented by the wing leader, which we talked about. Now, technically, he could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he can activate him just on his own, right? Frederick the Great. But I can use the wing leader either way. It's all good. So the line of communication can be augmented by a wing leader in the army to command leader chain of command. If the line of command does not exist, the active player can roll for the command leader using his initiative rating. If he passes, he is in command. If he fails, he is not. Unactivated independent units and non-command leaders can be activated. So, I would have forgot about that already. There is independent units on the board here, and I need to see what those are. There's not a lot of independent cavalry, but let's go take a look. So there's this green SZE guy, and these are all infantry, and then there was some artillery, right? So I'm not going to be, but where's that? Oh, right here. So these guys, I could, if I wanted to, because they are within 5, activate them, but I will choose not to because then they're going to have to move through guys, and that's going to cause a problem. So we're just going to strictly activate these 2 regiments, 4 units total of this commander here, which I would like to learn names. Schwerin. Okay. So Schwerin. I'm probably killing his name, but whatever. So let me find my spot again here. Unactivated units of other commands can be activated by attaching the activated command to activated command. You can also attach units from other commands if you wanted to. There maybe is some reasons why I'd want to do that here, but maybe I want to pull these guys here into this and have him activate them, but that might just be getting a little too tricky for my own good as a noob, so we're just going to stick with activating that one guy. Let's see. So, combat units that are outside the command leader's range or are not stacked with a non-command leader are marked out of command. Activated independent units that are outside the activated leader's line of command and fail their unit initiative die roll are marked out of command. So you can, add all kinds of guys to an activation. But again, we're just going to take it one by one here and see. As we learn some tactics and how this works, we'll get fancy. I just don't want to outsmart myself. Okay, so that's what we do for the command and control segment. Then after that's a disorder recovery, which is going to be for the same activated units, so we don't have to worry about it. So for right now, we are strictly going to move, and I did want to just double check. So it's rule 7.0, okay, and roads are a half, okay. So, and then if you have friendly units that are touching, they are also a half, right? They only count as a half movement point, I believe. Or it might be that they're if they're touching, they don't count as any. So the line of command is traced from the leader to the unit. The leader's hex is not counted, but the combat unit hex is counted. Each hex between the leader and the unit counts as 1 against the leader's command range, regardless of the terrain, except the line of command cannot be traced through prohibited terrain. When traced from one friendly occupied hex to an adjacent friendly occupied hex, it's a half, provided both units are being activated and neither are routed. Each hex occupied by a command unit not being activated or by a routed unit counts as 2. Okay, so you have to go back and double check. So once things start getting hairy, if you're tracing through an unactivated unit or a routed unit, it actually is detrimental. It's not just 1 or half. Units with regimental integrity are treated as 1 unit, thus costing nothing. Okay, so that's the regimental integrity. I think that's the A and the B thing, right? So all these Prussian cav units here that have A and B, when they're next to each other, as an example, let's say this guy was sitting here, and I activated this command, I would only have to count to here to count him because they're touching. I wouldn't have to count one more command this way, or technically, I guess, a half, because they're the same, right? So that's how that would work. Oops. Trying to get this guy on top. Okay, so let's go ahead and activate that guy. And we know that the first number is their strength points, which is, I think, 50 each. And this little creek here doesn't affect anything, so we don't have to worry about that. These guys are in march column. They are not in road column. So they don't get the half movement point, I don't believe. But let's go ahead and let's go up here. Oops, wrong thing. And let's just look at the movement-related stuff, okay? So clear hex, and if it's in the bracket, infantry and cavalry cost, and road, march, and attack home. So they can use the half when they're moving down the road because they are in march column. The road is going to matter with these little asterisks. We're not going to want to go into the villages, woods, marsh, or any of that. We want to, if we're on a road that's in clear, we're golden. And these little trees are just graphic. They don't affect anything. The only time it affects anything is if like this here, the center of the hex is covered by trees, right? These are just for looks to break up the map. So it's not just this white map everywhere. Okay, so we're going to move these guys, and we're going to move them. I'm deciding, should I spread them out a little bit or keep them stacked? I think I'll keep them stacked because I want to keep things condensed until I get spread out. I'm guessing I'll spread out over here somewhere, but I have no idea. So with a march, now with the road, I can follow the road, and that doesn't cost me anything. So I'm going to go out here to the road and then follow the road and march. So basically, I'm going to go 1, and then they would go, and they get to follow the road for free. 1, 1.5. I'm not going to turn them every time. You know, these guys would do this here now. So 1.5, they turn this way. 2, and they turn back this way. 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. Now, I got 6 movement, right? But the problem is, if I get into here, then if I try to go this way, it's the village, and I've used 5 out of my 6. I'm thinking I want to swing. Some of these guys will go, they're going to have to follow up along here and come out here, but I think I'm going to try to bring my cavalry down up on this hill. That's my plan with the Prussians, right? So now I do want to double check so I don't take liberty as far as if I'm not going to stay on the road and I make a hex change, if I rotate one hex. I don't see anything on there, but that doesn't mean anything. So I want to go look that up. This is where I really wish they had a PDF rule, because they don't really have an index or anything on here. I mean, they have the one at the beginning of the book, but they don't have anything where you can look up keywords. So let me look at... I'll just look at movement real quick. And again, this is going to be a little bit of a grind. I know some people don't like to sit here when we look up a rule, but I guess we just have to pretend we're sitting there playing this together and whatever. Increased. You can use rapid march. I don't think I'd want to. Again, I don't want to outsmart myself, and I think you have to make a test after you do that. So let's just read movement procedure real quick. You move each unit individually or as a stack, counting off movement points expended as it moves from one hex to adjacent hex. The unit can only move into one of its front hexes. Exceptions: line backing up, movement, and skirmish backup, and it may only change direction by making a facing change first, including wheels by lines. Units may move one hex at a time, paying the terrain movement cost for each hex entered and or hex side crossed. So it may only change direction by making a facing change first. So I do want to double check that, because that would kind of change a lot of stuff other than if you're following a road. They're all formations. So I guess that's a question I might need to ask, because it did say that it talks about road movement, and we're not doing road columns. We're not moving through any terrain on purpose. Trying to stay away from terrain because we don't want to make any checks. We don't have to worry about oblique movement because that's for line and attack columns. We're not doing any rapid march. We're not doing any formation, extension, or contraction. So, because my understanding is I could just turn and head south. I move all, some, or other units. A unit moves as many or as few as desired, limited with the number of movement points. A unit unmodified is on the counter. When you use disorder auto command, it's halved. You can use rapid march. Movement allows an increase by 50%, but then you're going to be making a check afterwards. So movement procedure. Move each unit individually as a stack, counting off the movement points expended. As it moves from hex to adjacent hex, the unit can only move into one of the front hexes. And it may only change direction by making a facing change hex, including wheels by line. Units move one hex at a time, paying the terrain cost for each hex entered or exiting. Units that move as a stack must begin their movement segment stacked. As a stack moves, a unit in the stack may end its movement while the rest of the stack continues to move. A dropped-off unit may not resume its movement later in the segment. A unit may not join a stack while a stack is moving. So you can't pick them up, but you can drop them off, and then they have to stay there. A stack may end its movement in an occupied hex only if it can legally stack with the non-moving unit to create a new stack. Each unit expends movement points for each hex entered or hex side crossed according to the terrain effects chart. Units also expend movement points when they change facing formation during their movement segment. So let's see what... Oops, I don't know why I keep clicking on that. I need this right here. So there is some... Oh, facing change. Well, that's... Okay, well... Oh, here we are right here. So single hex facing change costs. Oh, so it's not just... Okay, so my Prussian guys, if they wanted to go to the right, it's not just a matter of one... Well, that's interesting. Oh, in march and road column. So you can turn to the right for one. Okay. But I did read that one thing where it said you make the facing change. I think that's if you're in line, though. So I'm going to do that, and if I got to correct it later, I will. So we're just going to move them this... Or no, they can't move. They can make a change of facing. So they're facing that way. And then I'm going to fix the leader. So he's facing up and down. All right, so they're facing that way, and that would have cost 1. So we started here. So we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we faced south for our 6th movement. Now let's see how this unit does. So if I was going to face change to here, that would cost me 1 just to go there. Then I'd go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to do that. So we face, I'm gonna do it just to show you. So we face change for 1 point. We move up for a 2nd point. Oh, wait a minute. I have a facing change there, I believe. So we're gonna face change there because we're not on a road when we're moving. So when you're on a road, you get the free facing. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so we're already starting to break up just a wee bit as far as we're not able to keep them together. I wonder, when we were back here, if it would have been better to go 1, 2. I still would have had to change for 3, 4, 5. Nope, it would have been better, right? Because these guys here started here. These guys started here, so it would be 1, 2, facing changes 3, 4, 5. So it would have been better to go straight forward. So we're going to do that. So instead of going this way and coming around, we're going to go up this way and come around. So let's double check the math. These guys started here. This stack started here. So 1, 2, facing change for 3. And then I can move half. So 4, 5. Oh, wait. Let's do that one more time. 1, 2. Facing changes 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I gain 1 hex. Okay, so that's where they end up. Now, we go back to the turn sequence. Okay, so that was the command control segment. Disorder recovery. Remove disorder markers from all activated units that are stacked with a friendly leader. An active disordered unit, so we don't have any disorder guys, so we can skip that. Fire combat, we don't have that because cavalry don't fire. And I don't have to worry about reaction fire because I think it's this number here. Let's just double check. I think it's 20 hexes. That's the effective range, yeah. So 20 hexes is going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 18, 19. So basically just on the other side of this village. So we don't have to worry about any reactionary fire. Obviously, this cav can't fire, right? The movement... Oh, wait, movement segment. Oh, units using voluntary route are designated before any units are moved. Unit breakdown and reform is performed before the parenting unit or its component units are moved. Activated units perform formation changes. Okay. So my bad. I got ahead of myself. I was in command. They're activated. Then I would do disorder recovery, which we didn't have to worry about. Then we would have done fire. Then we would have done the movement, which I just did. Okay. And are performed within range of an enemy unit can trigger opportunity fire, and there's limited activation, applies to all movement, and the end turn conditions are in effect. Then we do close combat, which we don't have to worry about any of that. Activation completion, flip all leader counters that were activated with this command to the reverse side and place a finished marker on any independent unit. So this guy will flip, right? So now we know he's done. This command is done. And then they give you a bunch of finished markers you can use. So if I would have been pulling independent guys, since they don't have a leader and they can be activated by any command, they would have, you put a little marker on. So that's activation completion, flip all leader counters over, finished markers on independents, and attached units activated along with this command. Remove all out-of-command markers on the map. If either player still has any unactivated commands, the sequence returns to the initiative determination phase. If all commands have been activated, go to the rally phase. So we're just going to repeat that now over and over. Let's see, how much time did I burn up? 46 minutes. I think I'd like to do more than one move on this video. So now, that's one thing I do like about vassals. You do have these little move things on there, right? That show that they moved. So we got that. I'm going to zoom out, though. Okay, so we go back to the top, all right, and we have initiative determination. So Prussians are first. Ooh, we had a 5 and a 7. No 0, right? So again, just going to kind of breeze through this a little faster. Both players roll a 10-sided die. If either or not both result is a 0, we would consult the initiative special results table. We don't have any of that yet. If neither result is a 0, each player adds the army leader command rating. So we knew that, if I remember right, I think Frederick is a 5. Yeah, so he's a 5. And surprisingly, if I remember right, Brown, I think, was a 4. Yeah, so he's only 1 less, which I thought Frederick the Great was supposed to be so great, so I just assumed he'd be smoking them. All right, so let's add Frederick's 5 is a 10, and Brown ends up with an 11. So he wins the initiative. We didn't double, right? So we'll look back over at the thing here. So if the sum of the unmodified die result is greater than the end turn number, so we go back to that right here, and the end turn number is 9. Well, we're way up there just with one of them, so that's going to move this down the track again, right? But the rule is they're not doubled, so there is no chance for a wing command thing. So basically, for all intent purposes, without reading through everything, we get to do we get to activate a command. So let's go over and take a look at oh, this is interesting now. So these guys are out of command, and I could try to move up and start shooting at these dudes, but with my lack of experience, I think I'm going to leave these dudes to wait and see what happens. Right? We don't want to get too crazy. Now we have these Grenzer guys, which started here, which surprised me. I'm wondering if they need to run up here and get into this skirmish. Now these guys, if we go look at the Austrian chart, I believe, yep, I think that's. Oh wait a minute, maybe not. I thought those guys were independents. So let's learn about those guys a little bit. That's car. Oh, are they? Maybe they are. Yeah, that's these guys that... This is where sometimes the crappy little things in the book, which I don't think they're that pretty looking. Yeah, there was 5 guys there. So they show on this chart there's 5 number of counters. So these are independent. So here's an interesting thing. So I'm going to read through that slower because I think I'm going to try to activate these dudes and start getting them up by this winery here, right? So that as these guys start pushing back, they can maybe help. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, I guess. I don't think you'd want these guys out in the open, just getting run down by cavalry. We need to start moving the Austrians. Now, here's the other interesting thing, right? We got these guys here off map. So if we end the turn and they don't start moving, we're not going to get to come onto the map sooner. So I think this isn't going to be very sexy. I'm also guessing they'll have to roll because they are not going to be within 10 of brown, even if you went to the map hex they're off. So they're going to have to activate, I think, these guys right here because they're off map. There's no way they're in command. So these guys would have to make some command rolls. So let's learn about that a little bit. Because I want to get this cav unit, I think, here ready to come in on the south. Right? I want to have them in position. And you can't see the diagram, but they are on I. And then there's an H right here. And then there's a G. And when they're on the G, they can leave G, right? And come onto the map. And they come out right at this church. Right? They start coming on this road. And I think I can bring them in any formation I want. And they start their movement here. And they pour on. Now, they're not going to pour on now. But on the off-map chart, cavalry can move 2. This is all cavalry. So if they activate, he will be in position so that the next turn they can actually come on if I want them to. Now, then I have another smaller cav one, which I'm thinking Cavs smoke this game because they just seem to be really tough. Like if they start routing infantry, they just seem to gobble them up if that infantry routes. Again, could be a complete noob thing where I'm like, oh, and then I find out, okay, well, they're getting hammered. This infantry unit is on J. They would need to move over here to I eventually, and then I goes up here to A, okay? And I'm sorry this is a little confusing. I didn't photocopy and it wouldn't matter because it wouldn't be on the screen. It's going to take them 1, 2, 3 turns to even come on the map. And these guys can make 2 moves and basically go, they're in I. They could go up to B. Actually, these guys can go on to B and start coming onto the map. And B comes on at 5933. So if we go over here. So they would actually start coming on the map right between 5933 and 6434. So they would start coming on the map right here on the road, and they would actually be on the map. That is, now when they do that, they would use 2 moves. They'd use 1 off-map move, and they would use, then when they come on, they only get half movement. So that is a really interesting possibility to start bringing on some more units and get them, come off here on the sunken road and get lined up here. I wouldn't know that my Prussian counterpart was going to swing south, but I kind of made 2 plans for the Austrians, that these units were going to defend the village, and I'd bring on this flanking attack to try to hammer the Prussian line no matter who's where. So let's see how that works. So let's read step by step so I don't forget anything. Okay, so command activation phase. The active player selects one of his unactivated commands. If a returning or replacement leader is available for the command being activated, that leader is placed on the... Okay, so we don't have any returning leaders. We are going to activate this off-map cavalry. I'm just going to double check my work. They are in I. Okay, and I'm not going to attempt to try to show you this on the screen backwards because I won't know which way to move my fingers. Should we? Yeah, I think I'm going to do that for fun. Okay, so let's see how this works. Okay, so let's do this. They are right here. Right here. Oops. Okay. This is really, I'm going to do it like this. So they are right here on I. And they can essentially go to this right here, B, and then come out on B, which is that road I showed you, right? And they're cavalry, so they can move 2. But when they come on their second move, they only get half movement. So we're going to try that. Okay? And then I'll kind of show you with the pieces here. Oops. Let's do this. So get it down in the corner. Shrink it down. Okay. So remember, that was these guys here, and they can go up to here and then onto the map. And then that's going to bring them in down over here. And they're going to come in. So they can be in any formation in the off map. So I think in this instance, we'd want to put them on road movement because we have all this crappy marsh. And if they hit that, even in march column, they don't get the complete benefit of the road, I don't think. And that would be bad because then they would be making disorder checks. So let's bring them in road column with half movement. Let's do that. But let's read through this. Okay, so the active player traces a line of command from his arm leader to the just activated command leader. Well, the command leader is off map. So my understanding is that this guy here, LUC, I'm going to flip him just so I know. Use a name. I guess LUC would be his overall commander, I believe. This is Hedwigger. He's not going to be in command, right? Because even if you were going to be generous and say, well, if you can get off board, you could follow this road, but he technically is down here somewhere, right? Like maybe that's what they use this map for down the road. He's probably way down here. So there's no way he's in command. We're going to play it that way. If I'm doing that wrong, let me know. So the wing leader can't help him. The wing leaders are off map as well. So, okay, so the active player can roll for that command leader using his initiative rating. And if I look at my handy-dandy sample units thing for command leader, initiative rating is going to be the black square on that dude. So let's flip him over. That's going to be a 4. I'm guessing I'm going to need that or less on a D10. It's going to be a little harder to move these guys than I thought, probably. But let's read how that works. If he passes, he's in command. If he fails, he is not. Unactivated independent units and non-command leaders can be activated. Unactivated units and other commands can be activated by attachment to the activated command. And activated command combat units that are outside the command leader's range are not stacked with a non-command leader or marked out of command. Activated independent units that are outside the activated leader and fail their unit initiative die roll unit are marked out of command. Okay, so let's go read a little bit about being out of command and make sure that that's a D10 roll. I'm pretty sure it is. So let's read that. It's going to be under Rule 7.0. hopefully you can still move half or something. All right, so command and control. A command leader who cannot trace line of command from an army leader, this is under 7.4a, or an in-command wing leader uses his initiative rating to attempt to place himself in command. To do so, the wing player rolls one die and compares the result to the command leader's initiative rating. If this result is equal to or less than the leader rating, the leader is in command and functions normally. If the result is greater than the command leader is out of command, a command leader cannot use leader initiative to participate in wing activation. So command effects. The command and control status of each leader and combat unit being activated is determined in the command and control status. So when a command leader is out of command, each activated combat unit that traces its line of command from the command leader has the following movement restrictions. So let's roll and see, and then we'll read the restrictions if we have to. Oh, I got it right on the money. Well, that's pretty sweet. So we know he's coming on the map. Okay, so we don't have to read about that yet, but we're going to come in off the map, and we're going to come in we got to be in road column. All right, so I'm going to grab these guys and set them on here for now so we can close this out because they moved 1, 2. And they're coming in down over here, and I need to double check the hex number, and we're going to use the road. I think we're just going to come up the road is what we're going to do. They're marching up that road. So he was an I, so he moves over to B. And B is fit, so he can come in anywhere on 5933 right here through 6434 right here. So he zigzags. I think it would zigzag up here. So they're going to come in right on here, okay? And they're going to be in road column. And the most we can have is 4. So I'm going to spread these guys out a little bit. So we have an A and a B there. We got another A and a B here. So, okay. So the most we can have is 4 and a hex. And we're going to need some of these formation markers. What are they? Game markers, unit markers, right here. We're going to need these for cloning. Okay. So they're coming in 5933. Oh, I guess they're going like this. So right here. I'm not sure which unit would be better, so we're going to just go with this. Right? And this is the order we're going to come in. Now, I don't think when they come in, they have to be in a continuous line, but we're going to be because of the road, so it's not going to matter. The most we can have in road column is 4. I'm not going to do all the shifts and changes because we already did that in the beginning just to show. I'm just going to move them and then, because they get to make all the facing changes on a road for free. You don't have to make the facing change. You're following and snaking along the road. All right, so, but they only get half movement coming in right now. So 1 to there, 2, and 3. And the reason they get half movement is because they moved 1 full hex off board, then they came on the board. If they would have started right next to the board, they would have moved on completely. All right, and we're going to put this here, and we're going to clone that. Put that there. We're going to put this one there. And then we're going to clone that. Now, one of the things I think you can do, which I probably should be considering, is they can stack together and still be in that column. They'd have 12 strength points, so it would actually be less. They take up less room, so I'd be better off putting them there. And then they would have 4, 8, 12, right? And then the next unit can come on here, right? And then 4, 8, and clone him here. Oops. And then the same thing here, even though technically the board would end here, we're gonna put the trail here just to remind us. That is not going to affect anything. Okay, and we're going to put that leader there. Now I'm going to change all the formations at once, so they're following the road. Oops. And so they face the hex side like that. These would go like this. Oop. All right, now these, let's just put them aiming the way they would along the column. These will all be the same. So those are pointing to their parent unit. So I'm doing that right. Again, if you guys look it up in the rules and I'm wrong, you let me know. So let's go look at the... Oh, and you know what? Just for the sake of argument, I get ahead and I start moving. That's because I know there's no combat, but there would have been disorder recovery first, fire combat, then we do the movement, then close combat, then activation completion. And I like to keep the leaders. I think it'll be helpful if we keep the leaders straight up and down. And I think that's legal. And again, I'll check this stuff tonight when I'm off screen. But I think that's legal that they stack together and then they can create a column as long as they're not violating the stacking rules. So we have 4, 8, 12. And if you look at each of these, it's a combined 12 strength points. So I think we're good and pretty excited about the fact about Hedwiger coming up the Morellenbach, up this road through the Morellenbach and can get up here and help. So that is pretty exciting. And then we would, activation's complete. We don't go to the rally phase yet because we still have lots of guys to activate. So I wanted to do about an hour. It's an hour 7. I think I'm going to do a few more activations. Then I'm going to go read some more stuff. And then hopefully when I come back, we can finish up turn 1. Remember, this is going to be a slow grind. And I'm trying to keep the videos to, let's try to keep it to 90 minutes. Okay. If I run into something real complex, I might cut it short so that I can read. But let's go back to, we go back to the initiative determination phase. And the Prussians get to roll first all the time. All right, 7 and 8. I think we're going to end up with a tie, which I don't know what that means. But we didn't roll the 0, right? We know that if there's either of these or a 0, there's a special thing. Frederick is a 7 plus 5 is a 12. Brown is an 8 plus 4 is a 12. We obviously know those numbers combined are going to be above our end turn number of 9, right? So we're going to zip down to the 3. So that seems to happen pretty regularly. I don't know what happens on a tie. Let's see if it says in here. Some of the unmodified die rolls, we did that. If both die rolls are a 0 or are tied after the army leader's command ratings are added, both players re-roll. So I want to look up in the rules real quick and see if that means that we would does that mean that we would roll again, and that if we were above the turn end thing that it would or are we just re-rolling for this turn? Okay, so let's look at this in detail. All right, so okay, so it says find that tied die rolls after applying the army leader's command rating is modified or re-rolled. All initiative die rolls that exceed the end turn number move the end turn marker one box down the turn record track, even those rolls that result in ties re-rolls. So yeah, so I just wanted to make sure, because we could, we'd start getting ties. What's going to happen is we're gonna end up with a lot of non-moved guys. So let's do it again. So we got to roll again. Prussians first. We got a 3 and a 6. All right. So the 3 plus Frederick is going to be 8, and Brown is going to be a 10. So Brown wins, and we know that we are above the 9, so that's going to go down to a 4. The only thing is, I wonder if that die roll, if I did that wrong, if that is only when the die roll is equal to that. But I think every time we've rolled, the die rolls alone. So I will double check that. I think it's only if the die rolls equal that, not when you include the initiative. But every time we've done the die rolls, they've equaled 9. I think it's if you equal it. If the sum of the unmodified die result is greater than the end turn number. So this would be the first time that it is not. And it's the unmodified die roll, correct? Is that what I said? Yeah. Okay, so we caught that. So this time it is not going, so we rolled a 9. The turn end number is a 9. It's got to be a 10 or more, which it has been on every time. It was a 15. Just double check because I don't want to mess that up. It's a 15, a 12, and a 13. Yeah, so we're golden. So we were bumbling around a little bit. But the Austrians get to go first again. Now this command's already activated, so they can't do anything. So I can do stuff with these guys, or I can do off-map stuff. And I think I'm going to do the off-map stuff because if that gets blown, that's not going to be good. Like, right, if those guys don't come out, that's not going to be good at all. And there's a good chance, because I got a roll, that they might not, right? Or they'll be limited. We'll have to see what the limited rules are. So let me check on that. So let me go look at my off-map thing. So these guys right here, and I know this is kind of vague, these guys are an L. If they move 2, it'll put them on G in the off-map sector, and G is right next to the church here at Solowitz. I think you come in anywhere between here and the church. So I'm going to want to, oops, sorry about that. I am going to want to roll for this command right here. And I don't think you can use the wing commander because he's not in command, right? So the wing commander, if you flip him, he's an 8. That would be beautiful. What's this guy on his own? He's a 6. So he's pretty good. If for some reason I roll a 7 or an 8, I will check and see if I can use the wing commander. But let's see if it even matters. So I'm going to roll to put him in command. So let's scroll down here. A 1. So he's golden. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to move him over like this so I know he's off to the side. And then what I did is I just put a label on this guy. And so now he is going to be put in off-map G. So then I have a label here, so I know they are an off-map G. And that's all you do for them. They can move 2 hexes off-map. Now they are technically, their next move, they would have a full movement coming on here next turn. So I'm liking how the Austrians are getting set up, but the Prussians have only been able to move 1 guy. So Brown, historically must not have been too much of a slouch. Okay, so I didn't go through all the steps because I know there's not going to be fire combat, there's no disorder, no close combat, all that stuff. We're pretty much just moving, which is why I wanted to start with the 6 a.m. turn and see how things flesh out. So let's do her again. So we're back up at the top. We're making the initiative roll. Prussians first. A 1 and a 1. Well, that again is not the end of turn number modified. So we started out pretty fast and heavy here, moving down the track. I thought we were going to only get to move like, 9 or 10 commands and we'd be done. And this time, because of Frederick, he's going to get the tiebreaker. And I think we're going to want to shake out some of this cavalry. I want to look at the movement chart on this. Is that this one? Yeah. So let's go to... So in clear hexes, they still get the half. But they're still going to have to make facing changes, and those aren't free unless you're on the road. I'm deciding if I maybe want to activate all these guys and then this stack here. And get these guys moving. I'm sorry, this guy right here would be their leader, so maybe he would get some sweet, speedy movement, but he's going to run into these guys already. So maybe they come off here and start whipping down through this stuff here. Essentially, it's going to take them like, 2-3 hours, 4 hours maybe to get out here? I don't know. Interesting. Just learning on the fly here. I think I better activate this guy. I like to look at their name. What's his name? This would be Katzler. And he's under GL, which is... Oh, that's the Austrians. He's under GL, which is... Gessler? Yeah, he's under Gessler. Okay, so let's activate Katzler here. So I'm gonna flip him back. So we check his range. So up here we got Frederick, right? So we know that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plenty of range. And hopefully when I'm all done moving, I keep everyone in command. That'll be the interesting thing to see how bad I biff that up. All right, so I'm not going to do each rotation because that'll help speed it up. But they'd have to make a formation. Well, maybe I'll do that. So formation change or facing change for 1, 2. I'm sorry, it's not 2. Did I do that wrong over here? It's half, even if it's not 1, it's half in the clear. So let me just double check because I don't want to mess this up. Okay. So this guy was here. So he would have went half and then 1.5 to change to the road. 1.5, then 2 to here, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he actually could get to here. And then just be facing forward. Or no, he could. I did that right. This guy I might have done wrong. So this guy was here, and I think I counted this as 1 and 2. This would actually be 1. Facing change to here for 2. Then 3, 4. So yeah, he could have got up to here. All right, so I got to remember, go back to the chart just to show you. Clear hexes for cavalry is a half if you're in march, attack, or road column. The only thing that'll mess with us when we're not in road column is these little asterisks. We have to make disorder checks when we move through certain terrain. Okay, so this guy here is in command. Just to make sure we're learning the process. We did the command control segment. We're good. There's no disorder recovery, no fire combat. We go to movement. Okay. So it's going to cost 1 to go face. Oh, gotta make sure I'm facing the right. So 1 to go there. And then you can essentially move 2 hexes because this river doesn't matter. So 2. And now I'm on the road. So this is free to follow the road. 3, 4, 4.5, 5.5 to face the south, and then another half to move there. I hope that everyone followed that. And I'm going to make the leader face up and down. All right, so let's do this guy. Let's go. So half. I keep wanting to do 1. So half, 1.5. This would make it a 2. And now I can follow the road 3, 4, 5. And then it costs 1 to change the hex facing. And we found that on that chart, right? So let's do that again. Let's go 1. And I'm going to go 2, 3. Now I can follow for free. 4, 5. I think I'm going to do my facing change now. Not sure if that'll be beneficial or not, but we'll do it now. And this guy, we're the same thing. We're going to go 1, 1.5, 2.5, 3, and then we get to follow the road 4, 5, and then I think we'll be done there. Okay. So that's the end of the movement segment. There's no close combat. Activation complete. We have to flip our leader to show that he is done. And we didn't activate any of the independents because the only independents are artillery and these cavalry here, I believe. So until we get this road cleared out a little bit more, we're not going to be moving too many independents. And I'm kind of waiting on my infantry to see what the Austrians do, if they end up passing on this command or what. So I think I'm going to do one more because it's maybe a couple. We'll go till an hour and a half, so 90 minutes. We'll just get as many as we can done. So that's what we've done so far. Not sure if that's a great move to put him already facing. I thought maybe he'd just start moving, but it's probably 6 to some, half dozen to another. We'll see what happens. Okay. So we didn't have to move the chart, so we go back to the top for the initiative section. Prussians are the first die roll. It's going to be a 9 total, so we're not going to have to move it up again. So that's been working good. But this is going to be the Austrians now because it's a 2 and a 7. So Frederick ends up with a 7 against an 11. So Brown gets some more initiative. And I think what I want to do with Brown is try to get these dudes up. This is 2 commands back here. Okay, we got this guy with an O. Let's see, O'Donnell. And who's this guy? And Lowenstein, I think it is. So I think you can check your command. You don't have to go, well, I'm going to do them, and then count it, and then you're hosed, right? There'd be nothing to keep you from counting while your opponent's doing stuff anyway. So here's Brown. He's got a 10. So if we follow the road, it's a half each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He gets to his wing commander, and now his wing commander has 5 in each of the, so 1, 2, 3. Even if we just count 1 of each, or if we want 1, 2, 3, 4, if we had to go around a unit that's inactive probably because of these guys in the way, we're good. But I'm going to activate this one first because the next time he just has a straight path, right? So we're going to activate, was it O'Neill or O'Grady or what was he? O'Donnell. So we're going to activate O'Donnell, and he's some cav. And they're in line formation. I'm not really sure how that sunken road's going to mess with them, so I think I'm going to start kind of getting this way in case I got to form up into a column. So we'll start moving these dudes and see, because I'm thinking, well, let's go look. What does a sunken road do? Sunken road. Well, it's going to cost... Okay, so there's the Azterex, which means infantry, cavalry, artillery units are required to make a movement action disorder check at the end of their movement when they both enter. So this is an interesting rule. When I was reading, you can enter the hex on one turn, And if as long as you don't move out of it, you don't have to make the check. So maybe we'll just start heading that way and see what happens. Because that's 4 movement points, so it's not like they'd be able to run, you know. And since they're in line, all clear hexes are 1. So let's go ahead and just activate them. We don't have to make any rolls. We're going to activate this guy. So again, we would go through disorder recovery. We don't have any, no fire, so we go right to movement. These guys are an A and a B, and they can stack, I don't remember with how much the Austrians, but 12, you're safe, right? Because there's the little chart. Where's the stacking? Right here. So cavalry, clear, they can have 18. So we're good. So we're just going to keep them together for now. Again, I just think cavalry mow everything down, but what do I know? I'm a brand new guy. So we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to grab this unit, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we'd be all done. We'd have no close combat segment. So activation's complete. So we basically flip this dude and he's done. So without having to give every explanation, I think I'm going to just do a few more quick moves. And as long as we don't have anything real goofy, I should be able to get a few more in. And then I'd like to go back and read some stuff, make sure I didn't mess anything up. But I think we're doing pretty solid. Again, you guys that have played this, if you watch, let me know and we'll check. But let's go ahead and roll for initiative. Prussians first. All right, now here we got a 14. So the first thing we're going to go do is we're going to move that bad boy down here. We still haven't had any zeros, but look at that. The Austrians are going to smoke the Prussians again. So now we're going to do that same thing, except we're just going to go to our wing leader, which I want to flip because I want to try to learn some names. So I think it was Radicanti or something like that. Now this is where we should look and make sure. So it was a 5 and 5 is a 10, 9 and a 4 is a 13. So we're not even close to double. So we're fine there. So we're just going to move these guys. So we'll grab this guy because there's going to be no fire combat, none of that. Just go right to movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we know this guy was right next to him. We're just going to move up to save time. We're going to flip this dude. And we're just going to do a lot of that. And that's kind of why I wanted to do the 6 a.m. turn, because now I'm going to be doing a lot of movement stuff only. I don't have to worry about reaction fire, opportunity fire, stuff like that. And I can just keep going. What I wasn't sure is when I move the wing leader. So that's something I'll probably read because I won't probably get to where I need to worry about moving everybody. So he's all done. So we go back to the top of the list. Boom. A 3 and a 4. So we're at 7, so we're below the 9, so it doesn't move up. And we're going to end up with a tie because Frederick's a 5, which is an 8, and Brown's a 4, which is an 8. So basically that means we re-roll. Okay, so that's a 10. So the Austrians, so we're going to have to move down because it's above the 9. And the Austrians are just like totally smoking Frederick here, who seems to be a little clueless at this point, apparently. These guys are independent. So to activate them, I have to activate a command. I have these cavalry guys here who need to get out of the way for these infantry. But I'm not sure what to do with them, honestly. I haven't figured out what I want to do with the line. I also got some artillery up here and some infantry. I'm not sure what to do with them yet, but we are starting to wind down to where we're going to start running out of potential moves, and it's going to be limited movement, which I think is bad for units in line. Like, they don't get to really do anything. These guys are all... So I got everybody kind of stacked up here. So I think I have to start moving some of this out. So I think what I'm going to do is activate one of these cavalry commands. Or is this all the same? Oh yeah, I think those are all the same. Let's go double check the chart. So... bar... that. Okay. So that's these guys. Yeah, they're all under Haddock, I believe. That's how that works, right? Yeah. So Haddock, let's find him. He's the 5/10. So this guy here controls all of these guys. They're just different colors. That's where the colors kind of throw me off. And then we're gonna command these independent unit guys. So let's read about that. We'll probably do this as our last move for the night. And then I'll do some reading on limited actions, so I'm ready for that because we're getting closer. So let's read through it real slow. Hey, Larry, you turned my light off. Hold on a second. My wife was just doing some closing up for the night, the house, the windows, and she flipped my light off. So sorry it got dark there for a little bit. Okay, so we already did the die roll and everything. So let's see. The active player selects one of his unactivated commands. If we're returning, we don't have replacement leaders. The active player traces a line of command from his army leader to the just activated command leader. This line of command can be augmented by a wing leader. Let's see if we need that. So he's right here, and he can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does that go 6, 7? Because he's not part of the unit. Oh no, these guys are independent too. I can activate this. Can I activate this whole block right here? I think we're going to do that. Either way, I'm fine because I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So even if that did cost 2, that'd be 6, 7, 8. So he's in command. And if it was even close, he could go to, I think that's Lacey, and then he could just go to him. So we're golden. But let's see. Let's read this in detail. So line of command, you can be augmented by a wing leader. If it doesn't exist, you roll for that command leader using the initiative rating. If he passes, he's in command. If he fails, he's not. Unactivated independent units and non-command leaders can be activated. Unactivated units of other commands can be activated by attachment to the activated command. And activated command combat units that are outside the command leader's range or are not stacked with a non-command leader are marked out of command. Okay, so he's got a command of 5. And I probably put these better than I would have known because 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and obviously everybody in between will be in command. And then 1, 2, 3. Now this might be the thing where I'd have to go this way, but either way it would just be half, So these guys are all good. So I'm going to activate all of this. Because that's my understanding is we can do that. And they're all in command range. Yeah, so that's pretty sweet right there. So we're going to do that. So this is a big activation for, what was this guy's name again? Haddock. So Haddock is getting a big move. He's bringing up the Grenadiers. He's moving his cavalry out. And he's bringing these I believe, are still Grenzers. If I remember right, these are skirmishers. These guys can skirmish, but they don't have to. And we're going to start swinging these Grenzers up this way here. Now, Austrians, not sure with skirmishers if you have to do the oblique movement. But we're 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, they can only move 4 as infantry, so it's not going to matter that much. We'll have time to oblique, so I'll check out those rules later. But anyway, let's activate. So no disorder recovery, no fire combat segment. So we go right to movement. So just to read through this on movement, you could voluntarily route, which we're not going to. You designate that before any units are moved. Unit breakdown and reform is performed before the parent unit or its component units are moved. Activating units perform formation changes, facing changes, and movement. Out of command units and disordered units have their movement allowance halved. Rounded. Movement actions such as formation, changing faces that are performed within range of an enemy unit can trigger opportunity fire. And then there's rules for the limited activation. So we don't have to worry about that. So let's go ahead and do this. Now here's one nice thing about Vassal, okay, is you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm just going to move them like that instead of one at a time. Now, before we get too fancy, I'm thinking my cavalry is going to... let's see, that's the problem with... I can't... So Prussians can just... So in this game, you have to alternate, which represents you moving straight forward. Prussians don't have that rule. They can oblique the whole time. These guys, not so much. But I think I'm going to want to facing change them and start shooting out this way. So let's go back up. Since this is our last move, let's take our time here. And let's do... That's formation change. I'm not facing change. So this is American infantry, American infantry, French, all other units, and march all other units in line or skirmish. So it's only one to go to the left or the right. Okay. So what I'm going to do, these guys all have a movement of 7. So they're all facing that way. I'm just going to move, I'll face them all at the same time, and then I'll see how that goes. So they go that way, right? So that's 1. And then they have to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I think for the last one, we're going to formation change. We're going to face them back for the 7th one. All right, so that's going to put them there, which is going to open up the line for the Grenadiers. Now, the Grenadiers, I don't think I want to run them all the same direction. Oh, and this is where we'll have to get some finished markers because these guys won't have a command marker to flip, right? So we'll do that too. So what I might do is I'm going to send some Grenadiers up this way a little bit and follow these guys behind the cavalry and stuff. I'm thinking what I might do is move my Grenadiers up eventually so they're kind of up in here. And the other Grenadiers down in here. I don't know where my line's going to form. And then these guys can come out kind of in the center maybe. So we'll try that, but let's just move everyone forward first. Now this 9 and this 8 can combine, so I kind of want to think of that because if I break apart this 3 and the 4, I don't think they can combine. So we'll do these guys first. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're done. I'm just going to do kind of similar to these guys. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And these guys are going to kind of go this way, but we're going to have to make a formation. We're going to have to make a facing change for 1. Otherwise, they're just going to run into the cavalry anyway. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're heading that way. Now, they do have move markers on Vassal, but to understand the okay, so here we have finished. Okay, so I don't think it really matters which, I think you just put it on all of them, wouldn't you? Right? I don't know if I like that. Well, that kind of takes away from the beauty of the board. I don't think I want to do that. I think I'm just going to remember that those guys have the move markers on them. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this and just kind of remind myself that these little groups have moved. Right? Let's do that. I don't want to, part of this whole game is the fact that you have all these sweet looking counters. So anyway, we wouldn't have any close combat. So then you go to the activation completion. So this guy will flip. And Haddock is done. And then I'm just going to make a note here. I didn't begin a log file. So I'm going to begin a log file. And I'm just in that log file, I'm going to put start with new initiative die roll. Continuing turn 1. So that'll give me a little note when I start it up. And so we got some good changes on the map. Is that locked? Hold on, I gotta let my daughter in. That's not your fault. That's my fault. I locked it earlier. Anyway, I had to let my daughter in, and you can't be too upset with the interruption because she's got a container full of chocolate chip cookies. So I'll be going and attacking that right after I wrap up this video. All right, so we took an hour and a half. We learned a lot of stuff. We looked up some things. We started to put things into practice that we have not. Oh, let me do this real quick. This would be beneficial. Oh, I guess I should have just done this. I forgot to flip this guy because when we come back, we have to know that he moved because he's off map. And this guy we already know. Anyway, we put some great things into motion here as we learned. We still got a ton of stuff to move, but when I come back, I think we'll have some. We'll be able to move along a lot quicker. We will probably get into some fighting, I think. We'll see how this works here with these guys and these skirmishers. But not sure if this is a great idea to be moving up to meet the Prussians or if I should be sitting back, but I'm just going to do it. I'm going to live and learn. Remember, we want to get the rules right. Tactics will be a completely other thing. But yeah, we got some really cool movement done. We got some cavalry spreading out from Frederick here. The Austrians, surprisingly, are Johnny on the spot. They're moving all their dudes up from the back. I'll find out if this guy was supposed to, if he can activate with them. I'll look up activating wing leaders and when they activate, because him being on a position would be really ridiculous and stupid. So I'll double check that. And that's it. I appreciate you joining me. And I'll get this uploaded. And if anyone's got any comments, remember, this is a slow play. So if you comment saying, hey, I don't really like watching you read the rules and all that stuff, that's what I'm going to be doing. So if it's not to your taste, then so be it. But just understand that's the way this one's going because I haven't played it before. And I really just wanted to let everybody be part of that journey. So hopefully you're loving it. Remember to hit subscribe and then click on the bell for notifications so that you get notifications of new videos. There'll be a affiliate link to Amazon in there. If you ever want to use that, you can buy anything on that link. It doesn't have to be the game you click on and go to. You can buy a eraser or ream of paper or whatever, and it helps support the channel. And I appreciate that because I do need to have at least one sale every 3 months. Otherwise, they deactivate the account. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for joining me, and everybody have a good night.